Hello, America.
Morning.
Hey.
The rest of the world. It's good to be with you all in the morning, if you're in the morning someplace, in the afternoon, the evening, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in, whenever you listen to this, we are so grateful that you're joining the American Awakening Signs of Life crew to once again walk through the day's events, the activities of the moment, the pain and the suffering that many are going through, and to tell you God's still got it. God still got this, and that's what we show up every day to tell y'all. We started at the beginning of Corona. We ran 55 days straight through, day in, day out during the weekdays. We loosened up just a little bit, going Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday on pod. But then all of a sudden, the world seemed to even get crazier after that. So we don't know what to do with ourselves right now, but we're trying to be faithful to the moment and share a good word with y'all. And that voice and that spirit, I'm going to turn it over to Josh Jacob, our house worship leader. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, John. Happy Friday, everyone. There's a chorus that I just remembered this morning, and I don't know who it's by. It's not by me, that's for sure. But I put some words to it, just the general feel of what I was feeling this morning. And all right, so we're going to sing it. So here we go. Bless the Lord and all that's in me. Bless the Lord. Make kingdoms fall and rulers crawl before your throne. Ooh, bless the Lord, all that's in me. Bless the Lord. Make kingdoms fall and rulers crawl before you throne. No ruler, no kingdom is above you. All supremacy that stands against you may be struck down, may be struck down by you. So may we do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with you. 'Cause every knee will bow, dark creatures cry out that you are true. Oh, bless the Lord and all that's in me. Bless the Lord. Make kingdoms fall and rulers crawl before you throne. Oh, bless the Lord, all that's in me. Bless the Lord. Make kingdoms fall and rulers crawl before your throne. So may we do justly, love mercy, yeah, walk humbly with you. Bless the Lord and all that's in me. Bless the Lord. Make kingdoms fall and rules fall before you throne. Ooh, bless the Lord with all that's in me. Bless the Lord. May kingdoms fall and rulers crawl before you throne.
Oh, Josh, thank you
good.
so much.
It's good, man.
Yeah. So, just to run this back, you wrote that this morning. Is that right, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little something you threw together.
It's
Come
incredible.
on, JBJ.
Yeah,
Come
I say
on,
it
Throw it
bro.
together.
So,
It's awesome, man.
That was beautiful.
I don't know. I was just thinking about God's kingdom, like his kingdom come, his will be done. And anything that kind of stands against it
Mm,
will fade away. And we
Wow.
gotta think in terms of the kingdom,
wow. I am so grateful for that, for God giving you that talent to be able to wind that through your heart and your soul and have it come out of a guitar and put it to that melody that way. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'm going to change gears just a tiny bit and in the same spirit of direct invocation of God's presence. I had a few words written out on the subject of the things that to invoke God's presence for in this time, but you know what they are. You know the things. So the troubles, the tribulations, the trials that you're feeling, the challenges of your own heart, of us being, leaning into a tremendous virus, a sense of despair about the division of our land. I'll leave you to apply your own words to this these words from the prayer book of Common Prayer. Grant, O God, that your holy and life-giving spirit may so move every human heart, and especially the hearts of the people of this land, that barriers which divide us may crumble, suspicions disappear, and hatred cease, that our divisions be healed, that we may live in justice and peace, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. May it be so. May it be so in our own hearts. May it be so in our families, in our communities, and all that we touch, and places we don't even touch because we can't touch it, but that doesn't mean God can't touch it. So, all right, shifting back into the normal protocol, I turn it over to Joel Searby and the Daily Dose.
All right. Hello, everybody. I want to just keep on this theme of God's kingdom, of God's justice and mercy, and add another descriptor today in your daily dose: faithfulness. Faithfulness is a constant theme throughout the Bible, and particularly in the Psalms. And there's one such mention of that in Psalm 89, among many others. It reads this way: "My faithful love will be with him." And then a little bit later in that same psalm, "But I will not take my love from him, nor will I ever betray my faithfulness." But I got to admit that it feels some days that God is nowhere to be found. And instead that this God that we say we worship and follow is quite faithless. I look around the nation or our world, and I see chaos and lies and division and pain. And I wonder, as many of you may also wonder, where is God? Where is this faithful God? Or I may look into my own dark and lonely soul that feels void of love and kindness in certain moments, and I may think, where is God? God has left me. How could he be faithful? Yet I think I want us to remember it's important that when we see God's faithfulness mentioned in Scripture, almost every time, and almost every time I've ever heard the faithfulness of God discussed by the saints who are still alive, the wise ones, my grandparents, older folks that I talk to, they speak about God's faithfulness in the ways that MLK did in using his phrase, the long arc of time, or MLK said the long arc of morality. Time is bent to God's faithfulness, culminating, we believe, as God's people in this act of faithfulness that is ultimate, where he gathers us all back together to himself in perpetual community and joy and gladness and love. And yet I wonder, and here's really where I want to land it today, how can we live into and pray for the Lord's Prayer section of your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven, as it relates to his faithfulness? Well, here's why my challenge and my encouragement is that when we choose to be faithful in the people and the call that he has placed directly in front of us each day, we are actually imitating God's faithfulness. We live out a bit of short faithfulness in light of God's long faithfulness. And in so doing, we indeed are bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth. And that's your daily dose. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Joel. Really touched by that. Really appreciate that. Jeff Bethke, what do you have for us in Hawaii, brother?
Yes. Love that, Joel. Appreciate that. This might be the shortest daily dose. Not daily dose, something to chew on I've ever done. Just because it's just a quote. Sometimes I'll just come across a quote that just kind of rattles in my brain a little. Then I just start thinking on the next couple of days. And it's something I'm chewing on. So I thought we could all chew on it together, which is a weird picture, but you know what I mean? The quote is, and I couldn't find the source, but I heard someone else say it and I looked for it, couldn't find who said it. But it's a simple quote about listening and loving. And it says this, it says, being listened to is so close to being loved and feels so much the same that most people cannot tell the difference. And I just loved that quote. And I was like, man, what a thing to think on and dwell on right now in this moment, right? That listening, especially in this cultural moment, and real active listening, not just opening our ears. We don't mean just the technicality of listening, but someone knows when they're truly being listened to with eye contact, with body language, with active listening, with love, with leaning in, not just ready to respond, but really kind of, another way to put it is almost absorbing, right? Absorbing someone's words. When you're doing that, it's almost an act of resistance today because we are such a culture of talking points. We are such a culture of already knowing what we want to say regardless. Like we don't even have human interaction anymore at some level, because human interaction is actually your response should be dependent on what that person says, not just like you have talking points and they're just a robot and you just respond with what your talking points are. That's not what it means to be human. And so I love that, especially today, that listening is almost this act of resistance, and it's so close to love that people can't tell the difference, meaning some of the times you can make someone or allow someone to feel more loved than most other times is when you are genuinely, actively absorbing and listening to them, whether that's pain, whether that's a story, whether that's relationship, different types of listening. But something I just wanted us to chew on for today. So again, it's being listened to is so close to being loved and feels so much the same that most people cannot tell the difference. So that's something to chew on for today.
And the source of that, Jeff?
Well, I said at the beginning, I couldn't find it.
I
looked, and it's just one of those ubiquitous, everyone said it, no one said it, anonymous hacker type thing,
I've never seen that before.
I know. Yeah, me neither. I loved it.
Seen that one?
I haven't seen it, but I could, and again, I will not belabor this too long, but a lot of these gendered conversations about like women and men talking to one another, I could see that. I could see what it takes for someone to actually put down their stuff and listen is really a choice to love, whether they know it or not. And so I don't know. And a lot of people are like just looking for something. Again, if you can lay down your thing for just a little bit, just focus in on them. I guess it is love. It is love. It probably just doesn't even seem like love. It is love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, as I said, I've never heard it before, but it really does strike a chord.
Yeah.
It does connect a lot of dots. What we're talking about these days, there's something that sounds tinny to me anyway. I respect it, but it sounds tinny when, public figures are saying, just listen. I mean, I got it. Fair enough. It's not wrong. But somebody doesn't sound full enough. But you've Jeff helped me connect that dot. If they said that idea is right, yes, that form of engagement is the perhaps in certain ways the highest form of respect and appreciation that we have for each other.
Yeah, but I do agree. There is a hollowized, caricaturized version that sometimes the culture can value, which isn't true, love. And I think that sometimes it's what I was talking about earlier of you're just with technically listening to hear the sound.
Yeah.
Talking points ready or something. Yeah, I don't feel like that gets to the heart of this for sure. Like you said.
Mercy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say because with the inverse, it's a lot more of an even, like, kind of sharp, cold image. When you're not listening, you're not showing well.
Fair.
Yeah. You're right. The exact opposite is very evidently
right.
true.
It's like to
just ask any marriage.
Yeah, to even hear that someone is actively not listening to someone, it's sort of it makes me feel a certain way, even if it doesn't make other people feel a certain way. So
what's funny? Even if someone is technically listening, that's a line that we almost throw out in arguments when you're frustrated of like, you're not listening.
That's right.
Obviously, they're technically listening. They're right there in front of you, and they obviously heard what you said. So it's fascinating that we do kind of play with that word and the definition of it a little bit that even reveals, I think, a deeper layer.
Yeah, well, and then we've also got the line that of course, from the New Testament, those who have ears, let them hear. Right?
Yeah,
it's of course we know the difference between actually goes in or aurally versus like, okay, you've actually heard, and that reminds me now that we're on a roll with this, it reminds me of a point that we've been circling back to time and again, which is as we've said many times, Christianity is the only faith of truly lived, embodied presence.
Yeah.
God came to earth to go through every single thing we went through, to feel the pain, to effectively listen, to all of it by experiencing it along with us. And we cannot be Christians. There's no way to be a Christian except loving God and loving your neighbor, which is embodiment, right? It is Emmanuel, God with us. We are with those people. And so listening and the construct that you're providing us, Jeff, is a subset of that, right? It's just how to be with another human being. The most profound way to do that a lot of times is just knowing where they're coming from, what they're really coming from.
Just letting them know that they're seen, right? Yeah.
And the corollary is to let us all off the hook. We can't solve like 99% of it. I mean, I'm a solutions guy, right? I'd prefer to okay, let me listen to you. Now let's fix that, right? I mean, but there's a very substantial percentage of the things that we listen to that are very real that we can do nothing to other than be present to.
Yeah. And I think another element is like listening is not always hearing another person talk. I'm not trying to be like overly philosophical here, but I mean, if you've ever been with people who grieve, presence is oftentimes just listening to like the vibes, the resonance, the emotions coming off. It's not always like hearing the words come out of their mouth or the text message. It's just like, I am with you. And there's a certain connection.
Great point.
Yeah, I really like the words absorbing and then like presence. I feel like those kind of two words seem to get at the heart of what true listening is. That you're present to someone, but you're also absorbing kind of what's coming off of them.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, Jeff. Wow, one of your shortest something to chew on. 4 daily doses.
I'm gonna take notes. I'm just gonna find another quote tomorrow and just say the quote and move on.
Boom, drop it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm
I like
not.
it.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Makes my job easier.
So we're going to go over to Calvin and the Wow, So That's Happening segment. And for folks that I just, some of us got a chance to hear Calvin go large last night. We were on another presentation.
Come on, Calvin.
Other folks. And Calvin was like on fire. And fuego, Calvin Lee. So we cram him into this little box here, and we make him just do some little readings. But last night, boy, wow. Bring a little of that fire through your readings today, Calvin.
I'll do my best. Thank you, John. And thank you for everyone who's out there who showed up. Even if you didn't show up, we're grateful that we can just do this together, right? We can be together. So important in this time. Yeah, like every day, what is going on, everyone? To our friends in the U.S. and around the world, we see you. We love you. We really do. And then we're just grateful to be with you today. We just want to bring you a few stories of what's going on out in the world. All right, so alongside George Floyd's funeral service at Minneapolis' North Central University, Americans across the nation Thursday stopped to commemorate his life and mourn his death. Thursday marked the 10th day of nationwide demonstrations, which are unfolding at a time of extreme hardship. More than 42 million Americans so far have filed for unemployment, and people of color are being disproportionately hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Aaron Bryan, who is the curator at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., he said, "We are at a tipping point, much as during the 60s when Dr. Martin Luther King said we are at a crossroads. This moment is about the nation living up to its promise and the guarantees we're all given under the Constitution." Memorial tributes for Floyd are expected to continue throughout the weekend. Also, two police officers in Buffalo, New York have been suspended after a video circulated Thursday of them pushing an elderly white man to the ground at a protest. So in the video, which has been viewed over 38 million times on Twitter, the man approaches the police and tries to talk to the officers. But one officer raises his baton towards the man, while the other pushes the man's chest. The 75-year-old man falls to the ground backwards and lies apparently unresponsive as a pool of blood is seen forming under his head. Buffalo Police Department's initial statement was that one person was injured when he tripped and fell in a skirmish between police and protesters. But minutes after, local station WBFO shared video of the incident, prompting an internal affairs investigation, and Police Commissioner Byron Lockwood's move to suspend the two officers. The man, who has not been identified, is in serious but stable condition at the Erie County Medical Center. Buffalo's Mayor Byron Brown said, and I quote, "I was deeply disturbed by the video. After days of peaceful protests and several meetings between myself, police leadership, and members of the community, tonight's event is disheartening." And lastly, it's no longer the nation's top story, but coronavirus is still spreading. Since Sunday, 4,430 deaths in the U.S. have been reported. Of those, 1,036 deaths were between Thursday morning and the same time Friday. And by early Friday, the virus had killed more than 108,000 people in the United States and infected over 1.8 million, according to Johns Hopkins University. Officials fear that those numbers will rise following the protests and are urging those taking part to get tested. So there you have it. A few stories of what is going on out there in the world. And now for a discussion question of the day, over to you, Marissa.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you. And for those of you who might have been wondering what this call was that we were all on, we have started these brand new American Awakening meetup groups around the country. We've got groups in definitely a city somewhere near you. If you want to get together locally with folks on the ground to be together in this moment, talk about what we can do to be radically together, get involved in a lot of our projects, connect with us, get on meetup.com, search for American Awakening near you, and I'm sure you'll find a group. They're growing. We've got over 400 people signed up, and we're waiting for all of you. So come sign up. We're going to do great things together. Moving on to our question today. So again, as we all know, lots of Americans are trying to figure out the best ways to fight for each other and for our closest ideals. One controversial proposal now is defunding police departments or abolishing them altogether. Efforts to cut off funding for police have already taken root in Minneapolis. 2 days after Floyd's killing, the University of the President of Minnesota declared that the campus would no longer contract with the police department to provide security for large gatherings like football games. On Friday earlier, a member of the Minneapolis Board of Education announced a resolution to end the school district's contract to station 14 cops in its schools. And the Minneapolis Community groups all around the city are actually petitioning the city council to cut the police department's budget by 45 million and reinvest the money in health and non-police safety programs, which was interesting because on Thursday, the president of the Minneapolis City Council did tweet out, yes, we're going to dismantle the police department and replace it with a transformative new model of public safety. So other similar campaigns are underway in cities like LA and New York. And calls to defund the police are gathering steam all over social media. Some of you may have seen them. Brooklyn College sociology professor Alex Vital, the coordinator of the Policing and Social Justice Project and author of The End of Policing, says, the criminal justice system says there's one strategy for everything: make arrests, put them in prison. What abolitionists say is, well, let's figure out why they're doing this and try to develop some concrete prevention strategies. Not all homicides are the same. Is it a domestic violence case? Is it a school shooting? Is it a drug deal gone bad? Can we come up with a situation where there are fewer killings and fewer collateral consequences? So what do you guys think? My question today is, with all of our current issues coming to a head, could it possibly be time for us as a society to try another way to bring order other than policing? What do you guys think?
Whew, that's a big one.
It's a huge one.
It's so big that Jeff Bethke decided to leave.
I know. Jeff is like,
He's like, I'm out.
Jeff's at it.
Can I leave too?
I ain't afraid. All right,
What happened? What happened?
I'll kick it off.
You have.
What happened?
You
What I missed?
You up and left.
You have
I know.
to-
Sorry, it was, when there was a
You have to-
children
you
thing
have
I
to
had to tend to for like 1 minute.
It's
You
all
have to
good.
publicly declare whether you're for or against defunding the police. Just kidding. Don't say anything.
I would advise you, as your friend and advocate, to not respond immediately.
All right.
I'll-
Have you guys already talked about that, or did you just set it up, or what happened?
No, I just set it up. We were just about to dive in, and then you swooped back in.
Look at that. Here's my thoughts, because I do have thoughts. And I got a
Coming in
lot.
hot.
I
Coming
mean,
in
I
hot.
can't have that many. I mean, I don't have time to expand on it all. I do feel like, I don't think people, to me, it doesn't seem like people understand how radical actually like disbanding police would be, right? I don't think people understand like how significant that is. Now, either defunding and replacing with like a softer force or something like that's different. I think the thing that is really encouraging to me is the way I've been looking at it is there are some really good statistics that, police in almost any other Western country have a way lower use of deadly force, have a way lower, in regards to like, cops and cop deaths, stuff like that. I mean, you can go just about anywhere, and not even just Western countries, Japan, other places. So I think there's something there of like, man, can we just get to a level of where the world is at, if that makes sense? Because it is clear statistically that our force is significantly more violent, But also, is there an argument that our world's more violent? Like, is there something about America that's more? I don't know. There's a lot there. But I think there's something that seems like an easy first step of can we just copy what a lot of people have done well in other countries and start there? I don't know.
That's a really interesting sort of
But the whole community patrol thing and stuff, I really struggle with that. I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think that tends to. I mean, take like if anyone's familiar with Evergreen State College, so that's where I'm from in Washington State. 3 years ago, they had the famous Brett Weinstein. If you don't know that, you got to go look it up. It's fascinating. Where it's a whole microcosm of the cancel culture, students, and like free speech, and they basically talked down professors, got people kicked off campus, all that type of stuff. And it literally got to the point where they were able to negotiate the police presence of the university to actually like vacate the university because they felt unsafe, right? The cops were even they were even on salary at the campus. And within 24 hours, the campus literally went to chaos, and there was a handful of students walking around with like bats and weapons and stuff like that. So it's like, we have to at least be understand that there's vacuums get created in sometimes some type of those scenarios, if that makes sense.
Oh, so, no, totally. Where there's a hole, something's going to fill it.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting side point that you made to me just now. I just started chewing on this idea that regardless of sort of how the system that's in place is going now, is there something that might be sort of different about American society?
Yeah.
That we might be a little more violent than other folks.
Well, because yeah, I mean, our cop statistics are more violent, but our mass shootings are more violent, and those are by citizens. You know,
Well, you know,
Other things.
the one thing I'll say to inform that observation, I won't figure out how to come down on this because is so big. Is that there are 330 million guns out there? I think is the number. I mean, it's order of magnitude. It's over 300 million guns that are out there in the U.S. And we're wired a certain way, which is part of our, which is some, you know, our greatest strength or greatest weaknesses. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mean like having guns as our greatest strength. I just mean that like there's something about the initiative taking, non-herd following, American mindset, which is part of what makes us good, but it's also something which makes us edgy and something else too. I'm not trying to say by any stretch though that aspirationally we can't get further down the road of what Jeff said and sort of figure out sort of how to modify it and structurally and all that. I'll say one more thing. I'll say two more things. Well, one is, hey guys, most of us who listen in on this are people of faith. There's something about broken, fallen humanity. It's just a thing. And so I don't know what to, but just we have to get better, but we don't make all the bad stuff go away, no matter how much better our policing models are. And the other thing I'll say is, structurally, there's a lot of stuff bad. We know that, but there's also a lot of good people out there that work really hard to do the right thing in these first responder groups. So just to make sure that that's noted along the way. A week or two ago, we were all singing your praises as first responders against Corona, and now we want to disband everybody who's helping. So I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's a tough world we're in. So
I think there's something there, John, about there's two things I would point out. One is the fallen human nature and the fact that if we're people of faith and God people, that we should always be asking the question of any policy decision: is this bringing the kingdom of God to earth more or less? And just run it through that lens. I think the other thing I would say about, Marissa and I were just talking the other day, nobody likes change, and we're talking about a massive change. So it's going to, if this stuff is advancing, it's going to create significant upheaval. I think we should be talking to people who have already implemented a lot of this stuff. I mean, right here in Gainesville, Florida, our police chief, Tony Jones, African-American police chief, has done amazing stuff. We should be looking to people who have already looked at changing the policing models and let them lead the way, instead of, like, in my opinion, like a whole bunch of random activists calling for, blanket kinds of changes. And so right now I'm looking to people who have been there and have already brought the kind of changes that are bringing good life and peace and kingdom type principles. So that's where I'm going. That's what I'm looking at.
I hear you. I'm also wondering, again, since again, we're people of faith, talking about what brings the kingdom. I'm wondering this idea that what that professor was talking about, this idea of like restoration and trying to bring a restoration to the people that you encounter who might be doing whatever they're doing at the moment. But is there an approach that's maybe a restorative first approach that maybe, especially because of how bad things are right now, opioid crisis, unemployment, alcoholism, again, isms at high rates. I'm wondering if we know a lot of people are doing things because of all sorts of other things. Is it maybe, I don't know, has it gotten so bad that maybe there's like another restorative first approach that we should consider? I don't know. I mean,
we have to. I mean, look at George Floyd's case. People are trying to talk about his past. I mean, to me, they're like making the point for us. He was a man who was hurting and broken in some ways, and I've been with friends who have been through that, and walking with one right now who is in prison, who I don't think should be in prison because he was broken. He had addictions and pains and struggles, and we've got to, that is a kingdom principle. You help restore broken people, period. I mean, you can't look at it in any other way. So absolutely, Marissa, I think we have to start there.
Well, I think.
Go ahead, John.
Just a super quick note is just to say that the there's retributive, bit on the spectrum. There's a stopping people from doing harm bit. Then there's a restorative bit, and you can't go to one place or the other. It's got, you just got to dial at the right spot on that spectrum, and completely agree with you, Marissa. Continuing to dial our stuff to that direction wherever possible is the right answer. Sorry, Cal.
No, not at all. No, that's such a good point. But yeah, I also wonder, even because we might not even be sure what the restorative approach looks like. You threw out that question, and all of us is I don't even know what really that would look like as of right now. But I will say that I think as Americans, as people of faith, there can be a fluidity and an openness to exploring what could be, what hasn't been seen yet, what could be new. What can we take the journey together of exploring what would it look like to have a system, a model of law enforcement that is more restorative, right? But I also think there is a recognition and a humble recognition of our own brokenness that John was talking about earlier, that as we go forward, any system that gives authority, I think, to others to kind of enforce the law. I think of the Stanford prison experiment, right? Like power is a dangerous thing. Authority is a dangerous thing. And that brokenness, the brokenness within all of us to not wield that power in a way that is caring and service oriented. I think no matter how much we change up the system, no matter how much we change up the model, unless we address that deeper soul issue, I wonder if the same kind of the problems will arise, to the point like Jeff was saying, that if it's not the police, then it's going to be a bunch of randos carrying bats around,
This is one. Can I say one last thing? And this is going to drop a landmine that maybe we have to talk about later.
Oh no!
Okay,
go ahead, Jeff.
I do think this moment, and John alluded to it earlier. I do think this moment is a reckoning or an exposing or almost an apocalypse with that true definition of meaning a revealing of our country's almost addiction, fetish, and idolization of violence and bloodshed. Meaning, we, out of almost any empire in human history, we are one of the most, driven by just high levels of militarism, weapons, force, violence, blood, and that has to be dealt with because that's so antichrist, that's so literally, I think, what you see in the spirit, even people always talk about, the Noah example or, Sodom and Gomorrah and stuff like that. If you actually, and what they think, why they got, wiped off the map. If you actually go read the text, it was violence. That's actually a named sin on why God had a huge problem with them. That's
pride.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. And so, yeah, we maybe we can expound on that later, but I do think there's something there with kind of at central to America's identity as actually one of the things that's leading to our implosion,
Well, I just want to say really quickly.
Marissa's going to get the last word, but I'm going to say this really fast to Jeff. I think I've just got to put a placeholder in saying that we're one of the most militaristic and violent empires in human history.
You're going to disagree with that one?
I'm going to definitely disagree with that one, but we don't have time to explore it today.
Yeah. I won't take back the militaristic one, but I will take back maybe some other levels of some of that. But I do think our military and how large it is and how we built it up and what it does and stuff is, I think we have to reckon with that.
Well, regardless of where you stand on that, what I know is true is that you all have called out that the issue is of the soul.
Yeah.
These issues are soul issues, which is, American Awakening, uniquely positioned, campaign for the soul of America. We're also talking to people globally. This is about our souls, people. We will get to healing and restoration and oneness and all the good things we want when we let our souls be restored. So I'm excited for this moment. This is a hard moment, but it's also a moment that we were built for. American Awakening was built for, you all were built for, and there's healing that can be found for our souls. JK, back to you.
That is the right answer.
Marissa, just bring us back to center.
Yeah. Love that. So, Dan Hazeltine and Tommy Sims in Nashville have been waiting forever for us to get through these massive conversations.
We're holding the movie for tomorrow.
Yeah, we got to hold the movie for tomorrow.
Yeah, I was too spicy. I was too spicy today. I cut out my own movie.
Oh, you left, you came back, you dropped
the day.
some grenades, Anyway, so it's so great to be with this crew as always. I love the input of everybody on this group, but I also love the input of Dan Hazeltine and Tommy Sims, who are going to bring us some music in these troubled times. Dan and Tommy, over to you.
Well, hello everybody from Nashville. I gotta say, I love the conversation you all are having. And I love being in this position where I kind of get to say a word before we get into this. I don't know how I manage this, but it feels like a great privilege. I will say, just to all of that, I think there's an element of, for us white folks, in the conversation here, the question to ask is, when you talk about the idea of disbanding police or defunding police systems, does that bring up this question of criminal intent for specific people groups? Like, does your mind go to that place where you think, oh no, if there aren't police, then I'm going to be more susceptible, more vulnerable to violence from X or Y, or who is this person that could hurt me or something? Explore that a little bit and understand that is a myth, number one. That idea of criminal intent based off of the color of a person's skin is something that we've learned over time. It's a subconscious kind of thing, but it also really does influence this conversation about police and the idea of authority and how it gets used and where it's protective and where it isn't. So just keep that in mind. That's my little bit of encouragement. In Nashville, one other thing, I want to let you guys know before we bring on our amazing guest, Amy Grant. I know this feels like a non sequitur. Amy Grant, just a little news from Nashville, just underwent open heart surgery and is recovering. But if you are an Amy Grant music fan or love what she's been about in the world, which I do, just keep her in your prayers, and that her recovery would be fast and whole. So just letting you know that. Our guest today now, Tommy Sims is someone I first met back in the 90s, and he was part of a group of just stunning, incredible, super talented songwriter musicians, and he was doing shows under the moniker of One World, this group, and it was a fantastic group of musicians, including Tommy and the late great Will Owsley, folks like that. And I fell in love immediately with what Tommy was doing, and just the way he brought so much soul, so much just energy to the group. Beyond that, Tommy has had just an incredible musical career as a songwriter, producer, performer. He was he toured with Bruce Springsteen. So if you don't know who that is, well, I can't help you. Bruce Springsteen, amazing, as part of the Other Band. So not the E Street Band, but the Other Band, which fantastic, obviously. But he's collaborated with Bonnie Raitt, Garth Brooks, Cher, Blackstreet, Tony Braxton, Babyface. He had a solo record called Peace and Love that came out in 2000, which is a fantastic album. And I think even now, if you can find this album, go to Spotify, go to all these places where you go to download music and check it out, because it's there's some stuff on that record that is incredibly appropriate for our time right now and totally relevant. So anyway, I could say a lot of different things about Tommy, but I'm just so grateful to have him on the show. So let's just invite Tommy here. Hey, Tommy, great to be with you. Thanks for being on the show. How are you today?
Thank you, bro. I'm good. I'm hopeful.
Good. Good to know, because that was going to be one of my first questions to you is, we're excited to have you play some music, but I'm also really excited to hear just how you're thinking about stuff given all that's happened. This isn't the first time we've been experienced where violence has brought up this racial inequity in America. And every time we kind of think, well, there's going to be real change this time. What does it feel like to you?
Yeah, change is incremental, right? Lasting and deep, long-lasting change tends to be more incremental, and you need these. I first off, I'd like to say, I feel like everybody, and that's no matter what your background or cultural background might be. These are extreme times right off the bat. I think all of these things have to be factored in.
Yeah.
George Floyd situation, not unlike the Ahmaud situation, not unlike even going back to you mentioned the Springsteen days, which for me were seems like another lifetime ago. But you mentioned those days, and strangely enough, my first full band rehearsal weekend, and Dan, you know what this is like. When you're just before you're getting ready to go out on tour, you do these big sort of full rehearsal, set rehearsals in a venue somewhere usually, and we were in the middle of that, 1992, in LA on a movie lot somewhere in the Hollywood area, and our road manager at the time, we were where we were all staying. It wasn't more than about 2.5 miles from where we were rehearsing, and our road manager sort of had his office set up off-site at the hotel, so as not to be disturbed, I guess, by our activities, and so he'd drive back and forth. Well, one day, I remember he drives back over. He comes rushing into the rehearsal one day on this movie lot, and he's all sweaty and out of breath, and kind of freaked out, visibly freaked out, and he's shutting the rehearsal down immediately, and he just starts immediately telling us kind of what the rest of the day is going to look like, and he's saying, look, we're all being held here. Everything's, you guys are all good, but we're going to hold you here. Can't get back to the hotel. On my way over here, he was driving, I guess, a convertible rental, and on his way to the rehearsal from the hotel, 2 miles, he has a 40-ounce bottle fly just past his head as he's driving and knocks off his rearview mirror. And so he's freaked out when he pulls up, and he says, look, we're not going anywhere. We're going to stay here. We got to figure out what's going on. We don't know what's going on. And so we climbed to the roof of the joint that we're rehearsing at. Just we're sort of, we hadn't heard anything.
Yeah.
Right. We knew about the whole, trial, and, everybody, the city was on edge to see what the outcome of the trial was going to be and all of that.
Right. This is all Rodney King related. Yes.
This is all Rodney King related. Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. And so we kind of all like retreat to the roof, of the joint that we're rehearsing at. And I just remember we're all sitting on the roof, and we start to see these black puffs of smoke all over the city just pop up randomly, just pop up. There's another black puff of smoke over there, north side, south side. And so, these things are, they're couched in everything they're couched in.
Yeah.
Every ingredient is there. You stack on top of that the fact that we've all been, basically, just confined to our spaces for 2.5 months. And so I'm trying to put all what's happened recently and in the outburst recently. And of course, it's not just about George Floyd, and it's not just about recent events, and it's not just about, in my opinion, it's not only about police brutality or inequities of police brutality against a particular culture or a particular group of people. It is about all of that.
Yeah.
But I look at it and I go, and this is just the way, I don't know, this is just how my brain tries to
Yeah.
process it. I look at, well, I would say this. I would say this. I would go back to a quote from some rather well-known people of color in history. One of which you guys have talked about already. We've talked about already this evening.
Yeah.
Dr. Martin Luther King, and one of my favorite things, that I've ever, one of the things I guess that resonated deeply for me was somewhere in a speech along the way. He said something to the effect, I have decided to stick with love because hate is just too great of a burden to bear.
Yeah.
And so, and then I think about other great, statements in that area, one of which, most of us in Western culture are familiar with, because, we're very familiar with scriptures and things of that nature in the Western culture. And Paul, in his sort of trying to articulate these ideas, these concepts, right, in the early church,
Yeah.
to this raw group of people who were like from all walks of life, but certainly they were not churched people. There was no church at that point, except for the one that was being built, And his thing to them was, listen, we've seen a lot of things. We've heard the teachings of Jesus. We're that close to it. He was just here with us not too long ago. And some of these concepts about, whatever you think your purpose, whatever you think your thing is here, whether it's, whether it's teaching, whether it's a medicine expert, whether it's administering help to people in need, which I like to refer to as ministry.
Yeah.
Whatever your particular area is, if you're approaching that area, and that could even be into the the higher sort of spiritual hierarchy,
Right.
things like prophecy and healing, and but whatever your particular thing is, if it's being approached from any other place outside of love first, if love is not in the DNA, then it's unaffected, it's unimportant, it's not even relevant.
Right. Yeah.
And so I look at it and I try to bring it forward to where we are now. And I go, yeah, we've got some righteous conversations going in this country, and we have had for years. I mean, for 60, 70, 100, 200, whatever era you want to drop in on.
Yeah.
Right? This conversation of inequity amongst, races and cultures and people, that conversation's ongoing in this country.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see where we are now, given that, I felt, and I know a lot of us feel that we've definitely, it's not as if the conversation has gone unaddressed or has been ineffective. I think we've been having this country for a while. I mean, this conversation for a while in this country. And now, with recent events, listen, again, I'm trying to factor everything, and I'm really trying to factor in tensions, people's personal anxiety over just, you know, I just lost my job, and I'm literally, I have no idea what's going to happen once the powers and the experts that be say that COVID is over, right?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do when COVID's over. There's a lot of people in this country going, I have no idea what my life looks like post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So all those emotions are high. All these things are high. This thing happens with George Floyd, which is not, unfortunately, it's not an anomaly, you know.
No, definitely not.
And so that's where we are, and we are at this place where everything is at such a heightened place, and that's, to me, if it gets us here where we're having this conversation, where we're literally having podcasts about it, then
Yeah.
that's the good in it. You know, that's the light I see. That's the hope I see. And I hang
Good.
on those small threads. You know what I mean? I'll take whatever small thread of faith, hope, and love I can get in the face of these giant, you know, displays of,
Yeah.
you know, anxiety, anger, animosity, all, you know.
Yeah.
I'll take the small things. And so that's kind of that's kind of where I'm at with it, Dan. I'll be
Good.
honest with you. I have too many stories to tell on either side of the fence,
Right.
you know, in my personal life. Now I've realized
Sure.
my life is not the life story of a lot of people. You know, I've been blessed in that respect, and that I've met people from all walks of life, not just in this country, but in so many other countries, who share some sense of that,
Yeah.
and feel that, and so that's an advantage that I have, you know, versus
Right.
you know, the kid could have been who just grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I never left never left that 13 block radius in my entire, you know, 55 years or so. So
Right.
it's one of those things where I'm trying to look at it, you know, from all sides.
I think that perspective is great. Yeah. I think your voice and your intuition on that is right. Absolutely. I think I think that a lot more people could really take that in and try to factor in all of those various things that are causing anxiety and tension.
Sure.
I think you're right on. So one of the things when we were just chatting about this, we talked just briefly about the idea that that music is also a great way to keep a conversation going and start it. And I know you've got music there, so I'd love to hear you play something for us if you'd be so willing.
Yeah, man, I'd be happy to. And in fact, I'd like to. I'll play a song from one of my great heroes in this area of just human beings and how to use music to further the human experience towards something that's, you know, fruitful for all of us, and moves towards, you know. I think the objective here, I think the only reason to have these conversations is to move towards solutions and keep interjecting love in the middle of it. This is a tune from an old hero of mine from the 70s, which is my era.
Yeah.
Gentleman by the name of Jim Croce. Which way are you going? Which side will you be on? And will you stand and watch while all the seeds of hate are sown? Will you stand with those who say, let his will be done? One hand on the Bible, one hand on the gun. One hand on the Bible, one hand on the gun. Which way are you looking? Isn't it hard to see? Do you say what's wrong for him is not wrong for me? Lines they change and rearrange. What do we become when all the olive branches turn to spears and the flowers turn to stone? The olive branches turn to spears and the flowers they turn to stone. Every day things keep changing. The words once honored are turned to life, and people wondering, can you blame them? It's too far to run, and it's too late to hide. So now you turn your back on all the things you used to teach. Now it's let that man live in freedom, but only if he lives like me. We walk the streets of righteousness and just don't understand, no. Say we love baby, then we crucify the man. Say we love the baby, then we crucify the man. And I don't understand how we can say we love the baby, but we crucify the man. Yeah, the baby, think about it. The man.
Yeah.
It's good.
Wow.
Oh,
Great.
so long.
Beautiful, man. One thing I recognize is just the I've sort of sensed that you brought up the '70s, and what a great song there too, Croce. But the idea that I feel like there's been a bit of a void in great kind of prophetic protest music in our day and age. Like, we don't have many artists that are thinking that way, or processing what it looks like to observe the world and then describe it back so we can all see it and then make some changes. So that's a great piece. Yeah, Tommy, thanks for just joining us and being with us today. I'd love to hear you play some more music. I'm not sure what we've got for time right now, but
Do it.
what do you think? We got time? All right, let's do one more. Would you be willing to play another song for us?
Man, I'm happy to. Up to you guys.
Yeah,
I've got this piece that I
Yeah,
started
play it.
fooling around with,
Play it.
and you know, I think you're right, man. It's that would have been my little, my little space, my little corner in the music world, is to try to keep these songs floating around.
yeah,
This is one that I wrote in the middle of this whole crazy. We're all having our own crazy COVID experience, right?
Yeah.
So,
Great.
in the middle of my near insanity, I came up with this tune out of it. We have found our way here against our will, in this room so cold and bare, where no face is unknown and no earth lies unroamed. and no heart is untouched by despair. Now we have come from miles around, whether by air or by ground, whether rich or whether poor. And the sayers they all say, at the dimming of the day, there'll be at least about 1,000,000 more. Oh, send help right away. I'm telling you, something's gone wrong. I'm like a prisoner here in my own home. And oh, help is on the way. That's what they say. But even the experts can't say how long. And oh, what I do know for sure is that I do not know just how this part of the story will end. Oh no. But at the end, all I can say is that love will lead the way. And this is where love comes in. And after all is said and done, only one way ain't but the one. And this is where love comes in. Love's the only way we're gonna win. Yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent.
beautiful. Tommy, I am so grateful for you. Thanks for being on the show with us today. Thanks for your thoughts. They matter so much as we're all trying to process and figure out how to be in this moment in history. Thank you for all the music you put out over the years and just the way that you have just been a great voice in our culture. So thank you so much. I guess we'll kick this back up to you, Marissa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. Real talk. I haven't seen JBJ smile that big in a long time. So whatever makes JBJ smile is a beautiful thing. And your music was gorgeous too. Thank you, all of you out there. Again, I love what Tommy did, making beautiful music out of the pain we're in, out of the season we're in. Just know there's more for all of you. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. We're believing that there is more amazing things to come as we continue to dive in to our relationships with each other and with God in this season. So take care. Remember, God's got you. We're rooting for you, and we'll see you all back here soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.